What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports. If you're watching our college football channel, it's Georgia versus Ohio State in the semifinal matchup here in the Peach Bowl. We're going to take a look at 5 reasons why each team will win and the keys to this game, why I think advantages for Georgia, advantages for Ohio State, and at the end of the day, we'll look back at these things and say, if Georgia won this game, it's because of these 5 things. If it's Ohio State, because of these 5 things. And so let's get right into it. If Ohio State is able to pull off the upset and beat Georgia, I believe that these are the 5 reasons why that will happen. So let's start at number 1, and these really aren't in any particular order, but number 1 is the big play offense for the Buckeyes. I think that is going to be a huge key in this game. They are going to have to make big plays in this game. I mean, they have to. Georgia really good in the red zone and on defense, and you look at Ohio State, they've been good in the red zone as far as overall scoring, but they have had to settle for a field goals a good bit this year. So you have to probably make some big plays if you're the Buckeyes in this game, but they have the players to do that. I don't really expect Ohio State to run the ball a whole lot in this game. I just don't think they're going to have a ton of success. So I think it's going to be those big playmakers making big plays through the air. They're going to have to hit on some deep shots. And if you go back and look at Tennessee versus Georgia, and I think Tennessee is a very similar team to Ohio State. If you go back and look at that game and you say, well, yeah, Georgia dominated that game, but Tennessee missed some deep shots. They had opportunities, some overthrows, some missed catches. They had guys open, and Georgia, they're gonna play you man to man. They're gonna, just get right up on these Ohio State receivers, and if they can make some plays, if they can get that deep shot, a few times in this game, that's going to give Ohio State a great shot. So I think that is a big part of this one. Also, look back at the LSU game. LSU was able to make a lot of big plays through the air as well. And maybe that was because of the way the game went, because they were just throwing the ball, however you want to look at it, but because they were playing from behind. But still, I think that there is a big opportunity for the Buckeyes. They've got the playmakers to do it. And if they can make some big plays, it's going to give them a great shot to pull off the upset. How about number 2, turnovers? Turnovers could be huge in this game. And we know, if you've watched Georgia this season, they have had their issues. They have turned the ball over. And it's really been, if you look at the games where they've struggled a little bit, it's been because of turnovers. And you look at Ohio State, they've been pretty good taking care of the football. They are +7 in turnover margin. They forced 17 turnovers this year. Georgia's -1 in turnover margin, and they've lost 17 turnovers this year. So if Ohio State can force a couple of turnovers, if it's just a 2-0 turnover battle in favor of Ohio State, that's going to be a big key for them. And I think if they win this game, you're going to look back and say that they won the turnover battle. I think that's going to be very important here. The Buckeyes defense has been a lot better this year. They've been able to make a lot of big plays on that side of the ball, and if they can get a defensive touchdown or a strip sack when Georgia's backed up deep, something to get a short field, those types of plays can definitely flip this game in favor of Ohio State. So I think that's going to be a big key. Let's move on now to number 3. It's pass protection. Pass protection is something that you're probably not really thinking about in this game. Ohio State's offensive line, at times this year has not been great, and especially in the run game. But if you look at how they've played protecting C.J. Stroud, they've been really good. They're 5th in the country in sacks allowed. And get this, as good as Georgia's defense is, they're 77th in sacks per game. So they have not been great at getting after opposing quarterbacks, which means C.J. Stroud, it's a strength of their offensive line, pass protection, and it's maybe not a strength of Georgia's defense. He should have time to throw, should be able to go back to those big plays, make some big plays down the field, and that really bodes well for Ohio State. So I think that's a big advantage for them. If he can sit back there in the pocket, have time, we know C.J. Stroud is very accurate with football, can make all the throws, and if he is able to sit in the pocket and make those throws, again, look at LSU, what they were able to do to this Georgia secondary. I think that is a big opportunity for Ohio State to, again, make those big plays, because if they have time, C.J. Stroud, I think he can get it done, and I think you're going to see Ohio State score in this game. All right, number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. So if we're talking about one player that could be the difference in this one, I think this is the guy. He's arguably the best receiver in the country. Just a big-time playmaker and such a great route runner. Is just able to get open. And again, when you talk about the protection again, if CJ Stroud has that protection, Marvin Harrison maybe can make some of those, run some of those deeper routes, get open down the field, make some big plays, and it all kind of ties in together here. I think that is where the key is going to be for Ohio State. Georgia, on the other side, they're going to try to be more methodical. They're not going to go hurry up and look to score a ton of points in this game, although it's not exactly the same as Michigan because they throw the ball more than Michigan does, and they use those tight ends and all of that. But still, Ohio State's a team that's going to be looking for big plays. Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy that can get it done for them. They've got other receivers as well. I think if Georgia tries to take away Marvin Harrison, I think those other guys can step up. So even if he's not making the plays all the time, if he's drawing the double teams, it could free up some other guys. And I think, again, he is going to be a huge key in this game. And then you look at the psychological side of this, it's the pressure. Ohio State really has no pressure in this game. No one is expecting them to win. All you're hearing about is how they weren't a top 4 team this year, how they shouldn't be here. They were lucky to get in. They're hearing all that, and they are the underdogs in this game. There's no doubt about it. And you go back to 2014, they were the 4 seed. They go in, they knock off Alabama. It's kind of a similar situation here where, again, this team really, if they lose, well, they lose. Everyone expected it. But if they can go in and win, that's going to be huge, obviously. And I think a lot of it could have to do with the fact that they're not playing with any pressure. This is they're playing with house money here in this game. And I think that could be big for them. If they can go out there, play loose. That was something I think they struggled with in that Michigan game. If they can go out there and just play loose, play their game, I think they're going to have a great shot to possibly pull off an upset here. So these 5 reasons, I think, are going to be the reasons you look back at if Ohio State does, in fact, beat Georgia and advance to the national championship. So let's look at 5 reasons why Georgia will win, why the Bulldogs will beat Ohio State, and they will advance to the national championship. We're going to start with number 1 here. It's the third down offense for Georgia. They are so good on third downs. There's a couple of reasons why. They're 5th in the country in third down offense. So we're talking about a percentage of conversions. They're really good. Stetson Bennett is big with his legs, so he can make plays if it's third down. They have a good running game. They've got guys that can get open. They got, of course, the 2 great tight ends that are able to run those short routes. And it's just the fact that they stay ahead of the chains for the most part. They're going to run the football a good bit. They're going to get into 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2. They're not going to be in a lot of 3rd and long situations. And that just plays into their hands because Ohio State in this game, I think, is going to be looking for the big plays. They're going to try to go down the field. And then Georgia, they're going to be running the football, taking some short passes, working these tight ends, controlling the clock. And I think, again, Georgia is going to want to follow the Michigan blueprint here. And I think that's what they're going to have to have these short third downs. They're going to have to convert on these third downs, but it's what they've been good at all year. And no reason to think that they won't be good in this game. And so now we go to the red zone. So how about the red zone offense for Georgia? And these are keys. When I look at the games like this, third down, red zone, those are always 2 of the first things that I look at. And Georgia's really good. We're talking about the 5 reasons why Georgia would win this game. You could really make a longer video because there are a lot of things that favor Georgia in this game. If you look at the stats for these 2 teams, you see something that Ohio State does really well, and then you say, well, Georgia does it even better. And you can, again, go down and look at the stats for these 2 teams. Georgia has just been so good this year. But, yeah, we're talking about red zone offense for the Bulldogs. Just talked about third down offense. But this team's even better in the red zone. They're 1st in the country. They are 1st in the country in red zone offense. They're able to run the football. I talked about it. Stetson Bennett, you have to watch him as a runner. You have these tight ends that are almost impossible to stop. That's why this team is so good in the red zone. So if they can put together the long drives, take it down into the red zone, finish them off with touchdowns, they could really break the will of this Ohio State defense. And again, Georgia just has all the weapons, all the ingredients to be really good down there in the red zone. How about number 3? We're going to stick to the red zone. It's red zone defense. So another advantage here for Georgia. They're the best in the country here as well. Yes, Georgia, number 1 in the country in red zone offense, and number 1 in the country in red zone defense. That is just outstanding. Ohio State's actually 3rd in the country in red zone offense, so it's strength versus strength, but I still give the advantage to Georgia. I mean, you're really just not going to run the football on them, and that's how you have to score in the red zone a lot of times. You've got to be able to run the ball. C.J. Stroud, when he's got to throw it down there in the red zone, has not been as good. Again, Ohio State's looking to make those big plays, not as effective throwing the ball down there in the red zone. So I think that plays into Georgia's hands. I think their defense will be ready. If Ohio State is not able to hit those big plays, they get bogged down in the red zone, have to settle for some field goals. That's going to be, that's a nightmare scenario for Ohio State. And I think that plays, again, right into Georgia's hands, into their defense's hands. And if they can keep them almost like a bend but don't break type thing for Georgia, just because Ohio State is that explosive on offense, I think that red zone defense could be the key in this game. If we're talking about a single player for Georgia, it's Stetson Bennett. It seems like the obvious pick, the quarterback here. But it all kind of goes back to those third downs, back to those red zone situations, because of what he's able to do with his legs, which is why he won the job last year, why he wound up starting over JT Daniels, because they liked his ability to run the football, move around in the pocket, and do those types of things. And it makes this Georgia team so tough to get off the field on third downs, tough to keep them out of the end zone, in the red zone. Just talked about it a second ago. Number 1 in the country in red zone offense. I think he's a big key for Georgia. He's already done it, won a national championship for this team last year. He's proven that he can make big plays. He can step up in big moments. And this is obviously going to be a big moment here in the college football playoff. So I think Stetson Bennett, a big key for Georgia. If we're going to talk about another group, it's obviously the tight ends with Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers. Those guys are pretty much impossible to stop. So you can make that, you can put that in the video here as well. Can Ohio State stop those tight ends? It's going to be very tough. I don't know if anyone's really stopped them this year. But Stetson Bennett, I think he's the key in this one. They will go as he goes. If he struggles, Ohio State's going to have a chance to pull off the upset. If he plays great, I just don't see Georgia losing this game. And then we look at the psychological side here for Georgia. It's confidence. This team hasn't lost a game all year. Really have only had a couple of games that were even close. They're coming off of a national championship. So they've got plenty of confidence coming into this game. They're the team that is expected to win. And you wonder about Ohio State, of course, playing with no pressure really because they are the underdogs. But do they believe they can win this game? Do the players really believe they can beat Georgia? That's going to be a big key because Georgia has been so good all year. They've pretty much looked like the best team all year. And they're a team playing with a lot of confidence. Remember last year against Michigan, what they were able to do to the Wolverines. Will we see something similar this year? Well, we'll find out. But I do think that the confidence advantage here for Georgia is really big. And like I said, Ohio State's got to believe that they can win this game to have any chance. Georgia has a lot of advantages. Talked about the third downs, the red zone, Stetson Bennett at quarterback, all the things he can do. A lot of things going in Georgia's way, and if they win this game, I think it'll be because of these reasons that I just listed.